What's good, everybody? Scoobert Dubert here. Really excited for this next conversation. We are going to be talking with Andy Shernoff. Andy Shernoff is a founding member of the Dictators. That is one of the very first punk bands that have ever existed. So we get to talk about him basically inventing a genre with his peers, his experience in New York City in the 70s and the 80s, very different from today, and then also CBGB and like kind of the birth of that style of music. And like, you know, everybody from David Byrne, Talking Heads, Blondie, Dictators, Ramones. And we talk about him writing songs with the Ramones, with Joey Ramone, and the whole arc of the career. You know, when you're in music for so long, there's love, there's loss, there's everything in between, including, you know, being in a Call of Duty game. He's just an awesome dude, a great conversation, and I'm so excited for you to hear it. Before we do, I want to introduce our title sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid makes music distribution fun and easy with unlimited uploads, and artists get to keep 100% of royalties and earnings. I use it, I love it, and we've got the best discount, I guess, in town, 30% off if you use our code. Help support the podcast, help support your career. Go to distrokid.com/VIP/love-music-more to get started. 1 million plus artists rely on DistroKid to get their music onto Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, Instagram, all the major streaming services. And it's got a great little app where you can kind of see your bank earnings on the go, withdraw it to your account, edit up your details, and then also send out song splits. So if you're working with a lot of collaborators like I do, you can not have to deal with the accounting. You just let DistroKid handle that for you. So they're really cool. Once again, distrokid.com/VIP/love-music-more to get 30% off and support the pod. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Andy, aka Adny Shernoff. Love music more. Love music more. Ooh, love music more. Love music more. Music more. Music more. Music more. What's good, everybody? I am Scoobert Dubert. I am joined with Andy Shernoff, who's going to recount an incredible career, new singles, and the adventures of writing in the 70s in New York City as one of the first punk acts. And I'm so excited to kind of like dig into your career. Welcome to the pod, Andy.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
No, it's so great to have you on. So I'd love to just kind of start by taking us back to the 70s, just kind of reflecting on that time. What was it like in New York City? How was it different? And then how was it kind of connecting with that community and building something really from the ground up?
Well, first of all, you got to remember, sex was safe and drugs were cool. So it was a whole different style of living.
Yeah.
There was none of those fears. People did drugs, and there was no danger about it. And it wasn't these pussy drugs they got now. Everything's a pill. Mm-hmm. You got to take out can I curse? I can curse, right? You got to take out a needle, stick it in your arm. Like a real man.
Yeah.
Well, the 70s were a unique period in New York City. Yeah. It was literally falling apart. Mm-hmm. There was a headline in I believe it was the Daily News. Gerald Ford, who was the president at the time, a New York City mayor was looking for a bailout, and Ford to New York, dropped dead. It was just.
Oh my God!
Crime was very high.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. Buildings were just huge swaths of blocks and blocks and blocks of devastated buildings that had been abandoned by their owners. Now, the good thing was that meant rents were cheap, and a lot of people come to New York.
Yeah.
And you work a part-time job and pay your $200, $300 a month rent. And some people I know had even cheaper rents than that. So it was a lot of ways a very difficult period, but it was certainly a super creative period for filmmakers, artists, musicians. It was, I mean, we just talk about music,
Yeah.
but I mean, there were the best films were made in the 70s. And, out of the Lower East Side, think of all the great bands that came out. Talking Heads, you had Television, you had the Ramones, you had the Heartbreakers, you had Make DeVille, you had Blondie, you had the Dictators. There were a lot of great bands came out of New York. It was a very exciting period. What was your question again? I think I'm answering it.
You are. I just wanted you to take us back. Paint the picture where.
Right. Yeah, I'm painting
where
the
the
picture.
Dictators were banned.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. And everybody was young. We were young.
Yeah.
I was in my. I was probably 20 years old. We Dictators made their first record in 1975.
Okay. Yeah.
So we predated it by about a year.
Okay.
It coincided, but we were the first band to have a record out after the New York Dolls, local band, local punkish, off-kilter rock band. And it was a very, very exciting period. I'm thrilled that I lived through that period and survived to this day, still making music. That's the greatest blessing of all, is that I'm able to make music into my senior citizen years.
That is an incredible thing. It's something I hope to do someday too. So thank you for taking us back. How do you end up forming the Dictators? How do you meet the other guys? And then how do you kind of coalesce around a musical sound?
I was going to school in New Paltz, New York, at the State University of New Paltz. I wasn't really attending college. I was pretty aimless. And one day, Ross, the boss, who was playing in a local band called Total Crud, comes up to me and says, I'm leaving Total Crud. I'm going to start a new band. And he asked me if I wanted to join. I said, sure. I had never played an instrument before. But
cool. Awesome.
We're going to get Scott. Scott was in New York because me and Scott were the biggest rock and roll fans on the planet. I was writing at the time. I was actually writing for Cream Magazine and other magazines. And so we got together. We rented a house in Carhanson, New York for $150 a month. And we started just playing, looking around for drummers. We had a million drummers came in and out of the band. But we were influenced by the Stooges, hard rock, the Stooges, the Nuggets album, the Lenny K. Nuggets album was on the turntable all the time. MC5, actually more MC5 than Stooges.
Okay.
Thinking about the Stooges, there were so few Stooges fans in the early 70s that if you met somebody who was a Stooges fan, it was like, oh, you're my brother.
Right.
It's like you're an evangelical Christian. You meet another evangelical Christian, you immediately relate to the guy. So,
right. Community.
We were influenced by the hard rock, not heavy metal.
Okay.
Alice Cooper we liked, Love It to Death, Killer. So that's the thing. That's the sound we were kind of shooting for. And of course, I was the biggest Beach Boy fan in the world at the time. But you got at the time the popular music was soft rock. Bands that played 20-minute drum solos, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Yes, Kansas, a lot of bands that these are great musicians, but they weren't really something we could relate to.
Yeah.
So we decided to become a band that we could relate to, that we liked playing music we liked, and we were completely inexperienced. Me and Scott had never been in a band before. I'd never played bass before.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when we started the band, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel of
Okay.
my life.
Cool.
All of a sudden I had a purpose, had a direction. Uh, so it was a great moment when we formed the band, and I'm still doing it.
Love it.
Whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Well, I love too the idea of you find community, you coalesce around a vision, and then you co-locate and you listen to the same music and like, meld together. I feel like those are just three great ways to form a band and to build something that can last.
I think the best bands are bands that grew up together.
Yeah.
That take the Stones,
Mhm.
Beatles,
Mhm.
Ramones,
Yeah.
U2. These guys all grew up together. They were kids together, and they all listen to the same music. There's no question about the direction. Dictators.
Mhm.
We weren't kids together, but we're teenagers together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were friends before we had the band, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah, and then you live together. I feel like that can kind of
We lived together, yeah.
simulate the.
We did that because the Monkees did it. We were
Cool.
trying to imitate
Yeah.
the Monkees. Yeah.
Love that. And it's so interesting too to like think, okay, yeah, Monkees and Beach Boys, but then also this hard rock. I feel like at a certain point, a little bit after this, people started to coalesce into the musical camps. Like I listen to this and I don't listen to that. Have you ever been that way where it's like, I'm a guy who makes punk music. I listen to punk music. I don't listen to other music. Or have you always just kind of, been the world's biggest Beach Boys fan?
Well, Beach Boys were
Yeah.
one of my earliest favorite bands that excited me hearing them on the radio. And the first record I bought was a Beach Boys record.
Awesome.
I had my opinions. I didn't like certain bands.
Mm-hmm.
Certain bands you thought I wouldn't like, I did like.
Yeah.
Bands I would like, I didn't like.
Mm.
It was, I don't know if, I have no rules on that. I don't believe anybody should have rules on that. But over time, it did coalesce. Hey, I'm a metal fan.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a punk fan. Hey, I'm I don't know. There's so many genres today.
Totally.
There are subgenres of subgenres.
Exactly. Yeah. In terms of kind of picking up the bass, so you say yes to this band, you are now a bass player. How do you go from, picking up the bass to recording a year later?
That was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a little too quick. I mean, I took piano lessons when I was a kid.
Cool.
I was playing guitar in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I knew my way around. I'd taken even music theory when I was in college. So
Nice.
I had some kind of a background in the relationship between notes. And I was an avid music fan. So I understood
Mm-hmm.
what a good song was.
Mm-hmm.
It was ingrained in me. What was your question again? I think I just went off.
No, you're good. Just going from 0 to 60.
From 0 to 60.
Yeah.
Right. So I bought my bass.
Mm-hmm.
February 14th, 1973. I remember because I saw David Bowie at Radio City Music. I bought the bass at We Buy Guitars on 48th Street, Manhattan. Then went to go see David Bowie at Radio City. It was, 2 or 3 blocks away.
Sweet.
We were living together.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, gee, we need a Pete Townsend in the band to start writing songs. And I said, hey, I'll beat Pete Townsend.
Yes.
And I started writing songs. And the guys in the band liked it. And the guys in the band encouraged me.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of songs together. And we invited Sandy Pearlman up to see us. We knew Sandy Pearlman because he managed the Blue Oyster Cult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're big fans of Blue Oyster Cult. Still am.
Totally agreed.
Of the early records, I don't like the recent records as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what he saw in us. I have no idea because we were complete amateurs. He goes, hey, come down to New York. Let's do a demo and see and try to get you guys a record deal. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Cool. That is.
For hadn't even been a band a year.
Yeah.
And we got a deal. We did a demo.
Mm-hmm.
Demo is available on our album Every Day is Saturday, which is sort of like the odds and sods of the Dictators. We just empty the vaults.
Cool. Yeah.
And one of the songs, actually one of the most played songs on Spotify, it's our song, or the version of Master Race Rock on the demo is better. It's actually better than the album. The album, we had a better drummer on the demo. I had problems with the first album. But we, we had a vision.
Yeah.
We followed through on the vision. And it was a vision that was a little prophetic, Along came the Ramones, along came the Clash, along came the Sex Pistols. Similar attitude towards music, we're not exactly the same. Maybe they were a little more focused, a little more, maybe they had better singers, maybe they had better songs. I don't know. They were more successful than we are. But we were, we helped pave the road for all the bands that came after us.
Yeah. I love that. Hey everybody, Scoobert Doobert here. I'm excited to announce my new record, I, as in the letter I. It is available on all streaming platforms now, as well as on Bandcamp with high-res .wav files. So usually you hear the compressed MP3s or things to the streaming services. These .wav files, they sound the best. They absolutely do. It is science. I'm actually going to be posting a blog article about why waves sound better than MP3s, and that leads me to my next topic. I started a blog, and we are pressing vinyl. So whoever is subscribed to the blog is going to get first dibs on the limited edition vinyls. We're talking like some super, super limited edition. I think they're only doing like 10 or 15 of the, top shelf stuff. And then there will be other really cool colorways as well. But the whole vinyl run is not that big because I'm not that big. Hopefully someday we'll be able to press more. But until then, you gotta jump on it now. So join the blog, join that mailing list. It's all free. And then you'll be able to get first dibs on that vinyl of I as it's being pressed. And on that blog, we're also going to be doing stuff for like show notes and other musical topics that require a little bit more visual component. So for example, I just did a pod not too long ago on musical notation throughout the history. It'd be kind of cool to see like what it actually looks like throughout history, right? And that's what the blog's here for. It'll hit your emails just like every Tuesday morning is kind of what we're looking at. And it'll just be a nice extra little way to love music more, expand the understanding from the podcast, and also hook you up with some exclusive perks like first dibs on vinyl records. So anyway, check out the new music. Hopefully subscribe to that Substack. You'll find the link in my show notes, or you could go to lovemusicmore.substack.com to sign up today, and we'll send you some emails. So enjoy the music and enjoy the rest of the episode. Can you remember what it felt like going into that studio for the first time and being like, we're actually doing this, we're actually making our first demo here?
I was an arrogant
Yes, I love it.
kid. I thought I deserved it. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I said, "This is it. We're gonna be stars."
Hell yeah!
In fact, the failure of the record was kind of a dose of reality. Hit me right in the head. But at the time, we thought of course we're great.
Yeah,
of course we're gonna make a record. It's gonna be a hit. It was a complete sales failure, but the record's been re-released like a dozen times.
Yeah.
Since its original release, it's been remixed, it's been, added, all this crazy things to it. But that's what you do when you're 20 years old. You're arrogant, ambitious.
Yeah.
And, the real world hasn't quite entered your field of vision yet.
Totally. Yeah. There's always going to be another one. Yeah. In terms of your writing, so I know that you were writing at the same time about music, about culture. How was that kind of going on at the same time? Were you like, did you start the band and stop writing as much? Were you still writing all the time for the magazines, or kind of like how did that interaction and kind of span of like the things that you were interested in continue in these early days of Dictators?
I was writing before the band. When I started the band, I stopped. I was writing. I actually thought, what am I going to do in my life? Maybe I'll be a rock writer. And I was friends with like Nick Toshi's, Lester Bangs, Richard Meltzer. So they helped get me some work. But when I was doing it to get free records, because if you
Yeah.
were a
Oh,
writer,
cool.
you get on
Yeah.
the list, and every
Right.
day I was living with my parents. There'd be a box of records there from all these record companies. It was
Yeah.
great. Um,
That is awesome.
so, but when the band started, I stopped. I
Mhm.
don't think I looked. I'm not really a good writer. I was forcing myself
Mhm.
to do these things, and I wasn't. It wasn't really something for me. It was something to do at the time.
Yeah.
Had my ulterior motives.
Mhm.
I got to go on a few trips. There
Perks.
were some advantages. I met a lot of people,
Yeah.
but I wasn't going to be a writer. I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be.
Yeah. I
And
always.
when we formed the band,
Uh-huh.
put it off to the side. And I've written a little few things since then, but I don't. It's not a serious avocation for me.
So where do you go next with Dictators? So you are you make this first demo, Top of the World, doesn't end up performing as well. Do you then kind of go and you're like, we're gonna play live more, we're gonna develop more material, we're gonna figure out the next steps? How do you kind of like come out of that and continue the next steps of your career as the
Well,
Dictators?
there was no place to play in New York. If you did original music, there was literally no clubs to
That's
play.
crazy. Really?
Yes, that's
Wow.
if you did cover songs, you had
Yeah.
dozens of clubs.
Yeah.
There was one club called the Coventry
Mhm.
in Queens. It was a glam club.
Okay.
We played there often.
Mm-hmm.
That eventually closed down.
Mm.
Our record came out, and there were still no clubs. And then CBGBs opened up.
Yes. Yes.
Opened up uh, probably the end of '74,
Okay.
and it was just a bar. I hadn't even heard of it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go there until early '75.
Mm-hmm.
Patti Smith started playing there. That's what
Mm.
made it famous. Patti
Cool.
Smith and Television were playing there,
Yeah.
and then we used to see this guy
Mm-hmm.
in the audience for the Dictators, and the kind of the back was taller than
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Really, total geeky looking guy. Looked like the guy who got beat up in high school, because he was the guy who got beat up in high school. His name was Joey Ramone.
Mm.
It wasn't Ramone yet.
Yeah.
It was Jeff Hyman. That was his real name.
Mm.
And I see a poster on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
on a not a wall, on a pole, a telephone pole or something.
Yeah.
And he's in a band.
Yeah. Okay.
And I go, what?
Like, it's
This
that
guy's
guy.
in a band?
Yes.
This guy has zero charisma. What the hell is he in a band? And me and Scott went down to see them at CBGB's. There were about 15 people there.
Mm-hmm.
Blondie opens up, and Blondie was horrible. I thought they were absolutely terrible. Now, of course, they ended up being an amazing band, and probably the most successful of all the CBGB's bands.
Yeah. Yeah.
But 15 people in the audience. Ramones come on. They played for 15 minutes, and they were great. I thought they were great immediately. Cool. Everybody who saw them at the time thought they were great. It was like a breath of fresh air.
Awesome.
I had no idea they were going to change music. I just said, wow, they're great. And this guy, I'm sorry, my camera's moving there.
No worries.
Who I thought had zero charisma, had a ton of charisma, And that's my first story about seeing the Ramones and going to CBGBs. Now, eventually, the Dictators started playing there, and the club was getting crowded. Ramones started getting popular. Television started getting a little more popular, but the club is still small.
Yes.
You get 150 people in the club. It was packed.
Yes.
Then they renovated the club. They moved the stage further back so you can get an extra 50 to 100 people in the club.
Mm-hmm.
It put in a great PA. That's one thing about the club. It had a great PA.
Mm-hmm.
And Hilly encouraged a lot of the original bands. He didn't want to pay ASCAP or BMI royalties. So he said, if you want to play my club, you have to play original music. He didn't want to hear cover bands.
Yeah, for the listeners that don't know, basically you play a cover song, and the people that wrote that song need to get a little bit of money. And so
the club has to pay the royalty for having these songs done in their club. So Uh, that's the story. That's the
Yeah.
story how we started playing in CBGBs.
Hmm.
Then of course the other bands came along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Blondie got great. Talking Heads
Mm-hmm.
came to town.
Mm-hmm.
The Heartbreakers formed from out of the Dolls. They
Mm.
were a band, they were stone junkies and fuck ups, but I think their record's amazing. Dead Boys came to town. Mink DeVille came to town. He was, but maybe the best singer on the scene. I'm missing out a whole bunch of bands, but
Yeah.
it was a fantastic time period for
It's
music.
it's so interesting too that you kind of had like this desert of nowhere to play. The one venue that you were playing closes down, and then you get this kind of like oasis that everybody can come to, and it's small enough that hey, Black Bear Diner, I like that spot. Um, you're able to kind of all come together and have actually a place to play, and it just kind of builds in community because you're seeing the same people around, you're watching the other bands, you're actually hearing original music and bouncing stuff off of each other. Do you feel like that those bands were influencing each other in like real time as you were seeing something you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool, like maybe we should pull something like that into our set? Or was it just a little bit less, like more informal, just by being around each other you're kind of learning through osmosis?
I think there was a vacuum in
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
that rock and roll had sort of faded away. The raw 3-minute song had been ignored for a few years, and it was time for a comeback. And I think maybe we were the first band with a record, but I think the sparks were in everybody's brain was going
Mm-hmm.
in New York
Yeah.
and in London
Mm-hmm.
and in Boston and in San Francisco, LA, even Toronto started. There were people who were starting to think along the same ways. Now, maybe they heard our record, maybe they heard
Mm-hmm.
the Ramones that made them form a band, but people wanted something along those lines for rock and roll. So I think it was going to happen no matter what, whether we existed or the Ramones existed or the Sex Pistols never existed.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to happen. There was a vacuum that had to be filled.
Love it. And then I'm curious about "Don't Worry About Me," Joey Ramone's solo record. So how did you end up, working with him? Was that through that mutual connection with the band, seeing if it shows? Did you guys get to kind of develop a
Oh,
friendship? And
he,
then,
he, he was
yeah,
he was a good friend of mine. I've
love it.
been playing with him for years in numerous things.
Yeah.
I've been writing songs with him. When he wanted to do a solo record,
Mm-hmm.
he asked me to play bass on it. I co-wrote a song with him on it. It was an honor. You know,
Yeah.
Ramones are one of my favorite bands. Joey is one of my favorite singers. So, and he was a buddy.
Yeah.
You know, uh, we hung out all the time, and it was. I think it's a good record, really good record,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
good band.
Mm-hmm.
He was sick while we were recording it.
Oh my God.
He had his uh, leukemia, lymphoma.
Oh
Matter of
yeah.
fact, the exact cancer he had.
Mm-hmm.
So he was not well, but
Yeah.
he was able to eventually get
Mm-hmm.
to come to the studio and
Yeah.
get the record done. It took a while,
Yeah.
and he actually.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of 2000. We actually did two shows. We played one show at
Mm.
CBGB's and one show at Continental in New York. He was feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
He didn't want to tour, but it was in
Mm-hmm.
remission. And here I'm going to tell you a very sad story.
Yeah.
Uh, he was on some kind of drugs that weakened his bones.
Mm.
So he was out on a winter in December. He was out there going for a walk in the snow, and he slipped and he fell, and he broke his hip. And to treat his hip, they had to take him off the cancer medicine.
Oh.
And when that happened, the cancer just sort of spread right through his body, and um, it was inevitable. And he died on April 15th of 2001.
Yeah.
I was with him when he died.
Really?
Yeah, his brother called me up. Said, "Hey, it was a Sunday morning."
Mm-hmm.
Said, "I think you got to come down. This is it." And I went down there, and it was me, Arturo Vega, who was lighting director for the Ramones. His mother, his mother's boyfriend, Mickey, his brother, and Arlene, Mickey's wife. And Mickey put on a U2 song. Damn it, I'm going to forget the name of it. In a little while, the pain's going to go away, something like that. I forgot the. I forget. I'm not sure. I think that's the title. In a little while,
Yeah.
and when Bono heard that was the last song Joey uh, that was played as Joey was dying, literally, his brother put it on and he died. He said, "Well, it elevated the song because he said he wrote the song about the pain of a hangover." So here he is, he's a song that ended up being, a little bit special because it was the last song Joey was, of course, was not cognizant, but it was played when he took his last breath.
It's amazing how songs like that too you write it in a certain way, right? Like this is coming out of my life experience, but the song ends up taking on a life of its own, and just like that, that song will never be the same for Bono.
Always. Yeah. First of all, everybody has their own personal interpretation of a song.
Yeah.
They don't hear the lyrics; they hear the lyrics differently. And that's the thing about a song. People personalize it. It's a very personal experience. A listener's relationship to music, because it means something. It doesn't even have to have lyrics. It's how it hits you emotionally. One of the most emotional songs I ever heard was when David Bowie died. Rick Wakeman, who I'm not a fan of by any stretch of the imagination, he did an instrumental version of what's the name of this song? It's a pleasantly strong affair to the boy with the mousy hair. What's the song? What's the title? It's Your Life on Mars. Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. Yeah.
He just played it on piano, and I don't cry at songs. I cried.
Yeah.
Listen, of course, it was right after David Bowie died.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of David Bowie.
Yeah.
And oh god, sorry.
No worries.
Turn this off.
It's okay.
But
the way things can change.
Music is magic. Yeah. Rick Wakeman playing just a few notes on a piano make me cry.
Yep.
And a song, it always means something different to everybody.
And it can change over time too. That's such a crazy thing.
I believe, sure. As you change, how your relationship to the song can change.
Sorry to interrupt this very important broadcast, but it's time for one more advertisement for myself for this podcast. What I'm asking for is for you to rate it 5 stars, share it with your friends. This is like the most important thing for this podcast to grow. So if you want to do this, you go onto the podcast screen, right? You click on the ... on Spotify. Under there, it says rate show, and you go and you click it 5 stars. If you could do that for me, that's the best way for the algorithms, all this stuff, to share it out with the world. I know that it's a lot to ask, but if you could please just hit those 3 dots and then a 5 star, it would really help us out and helps us, get the word out and spread the love of music. So thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. And here's the rest of the episode. I'm curious, as somebody that's seen the evolution, the whole arc of kind of punk music, where do you think it's at today? What do you think is like the most punk thing today? Where do you think the genre, the ethos, where do you think we've kind of come to here in 2024?
I don't know. Is there punk music today? I'm not sure. I think I don't know. I honestly don't have an answer for you. I'm a little out of the loop.
I'm gonna send you one band. I'm gonna send you one band. They're four women out of Japan called Otoboke Beaver,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to one of their shows, and it was a proper punk show. It was just electric. It was awesome, and there's just these small Japanese women that are embodying the same spirit. I thought it was awesome. So I'll send it to you after the. Yeah.
Yeah, Japan has a way of
Uh-huh.
taking things in and
Yep.
synthesizing it out.
Totally.
In a string matter. I've been to Japan. I think it's absolutely a fantastic country. And the people are great. People are the most honorable people I've ever seen on the planet. And they just wonderful people. But I can't say I know what what punk is today, or I don't even know anything about what the music business is. My thing is, I like to make music.
Yeah.
Every day I make music is a good day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make music. I'm going to write songs. I'm going to play with my band. We're going to go on tour. We're going to make records. And as long as I'm doing that, I feel like I'm living the right life.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I'm not going to retire.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life.
Yes.
My band may break up. Everybody can die in the band. I'm still going to be playing music.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's me on the piano in my house. Maybe it's recording stuff, on my own, which I've done.
Cool. Yeah.
I've had my solo career is all just me on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more fun to play with people.
Yeah.
That's really the most fun.
Yeah. That is the most fun. So what are you up to now? What are some kind of projects that you're working on? What are some things that you're excited about right now?
I don't do. Yeah. I used to produce records. I used to do a lot of things. I don't do anything except the Dictators right now.
Cool.
We just put out a new single.
Yes.
I don't know when you're gonna air this, but we have a new song called "My Imaginary Friend." I think it's really good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And we're finishing up an album.
Oh, great! I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Matter of fact, the recording is done. I'm preparing the tracks to be mixed by Stasium, who's a absolutely brilliant mixer and producer, and adds so much. He produced the Ramones, and his track records, mile long. Fantastic, talented guy. To work with him is great. And we're going to be doing some shows with the Damned in end of May into June.
Great.
On the East Coast. And we wouldn't be playing that except that those shows were too good to pass up.
Yeah.
Records are going to come out. We're going to start playing, see what people think. I have no idea, I don't know what people think of a band that's been around 50 years.
Mm-hmm. I think you'll be surprised.
We shall find out.
Yeah. I'm really excited for that.
Oh, thank you.
And we'll definitely put out this episode beforehand so that people can get their tickets, get on the record, and enjoy this music. So I always kind of towards the tail end of the episode ask every guest this question. So the show is called Love Music More. The segment's called Love Music Why. And so you've already been talking about this, but this is just.
I think I answered that question.
I think you did.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest question for you is, why do you keep this same level of excitement? Why is it that every single day is a good day when you made music? Like what is it just who you are? Is it something that the music gives to you? Like what is that?
I'm lucky. I know what I like to do. A baseball player, if they could play baseball or basketball, they would do it every day. But they get too old, they can't do it.
Right.
A musician can always do it.
Yes.
And you can do it on your own. And when you play with other people, the feeling is magical. For me, I like rehearsing. I like writing songs. I like working arrangements out. I like playing. Now I don't like traveling to play. Sit in a van, get on a plane, stay in a hotel. I prefer staying sleeping in my own bed. But it's all worth it to get up on stage and create this magic called music. It's hard for me to describe if you've never done it, but you got a drum set I see behind you there.
I do. Yep.
So you play.
I do.
And when you're playing with all you need is a bass player or a guitar player.
Exactly.
One other person, and you're playing it, and you're having the time of your life.
So true.
That's what I get every day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a lucky guy. Okay, I wasn't never super successful. You know, I'm a working musician. That's what I call myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've worked my whole life as a musician. Never had any big hits, but I've continued to work as either a producer or a songwriter or a musician or in a band, and it's just what I like to do, and I'm lucky that I found something I like to do with my life.
And frankly, that's refreshing, I think, to hear, because so many people get into music, especially nowadays, thinking, oh, I'm just one viral hit away from quitting my job and never having to worry about anything for the rest of my life. But if you have that mentality, it's like you're trying to be a lottery winner. But if you have the working musician mentality, it's not about that. It's, I want to make music as much as possible, as many minutes of every single day as possible. And then you apply that, and then, yeah, I think that those people end up feeling more fulfilled and have longer careers.
You know, I say I'm almost glad I never had a hit record. Nobody expected me to, come back with a hit record. I just, I've worked with dozens and dozens of bands. I've toured all around the world. I actually make more money for my songs than I used to because there are more outlets. People playing, but music is magic. Every day you make music is a good day. I can't imagine a better life than being a musician. And people tell me, hey, my kid wants to be a musician. I said, oh, encourage him. Do it. Hey, if he wants to be a lawyer or a bus driver also, he could do he could do that, pay his bills, and he can come home and play on the weekends.
Yeah.
And he's going to get tremendous joy out of that.
Yeah.
So I always encourage my friends when they say their kids want to be a musician. It's nothing is better.
I love that. That's a refreshing take.
Thank you.
Yeah. One final question. Where did the misspelling of your name, Adny, come from?
It was a joke. I was in college and I was online to register for a class or something, and somebody said, okay, what's your name? Andy Shernoff. Okay, how do you spell that? Meaning my last name. And of course, I was a wise guy, Weisenheimer. I said A-D-N-Y, make it, because she was talking about my last name. I told my first name.
Yeah, it's good.
And then people laughed, and I kept it because I was a writer. It's a way for people to, stand out a little bit. I don't use it anymore. I use it as a joke sometimes, but that's the story. Not a great story, but
no, I like it. I was just curious. Where can people get in touch with you, or what would you recommend them check out? The new Dictators single, and
I would go to Spotify.
Yeah. Cool.
Go to Spotify and listen to My Imaginary Friend. We have a bunch of other new stuff there. We've got about 4 or 5 new songs. Let's get the band back together.
Yeah.
Goddamn New York.
Yeah.
Have a nice day. So I think we're making good music.
Love it.
Hey, I have a website. Dictators have a website. Everything is out of date. It's not something we focus on, but you can always contact me through that.
Cool.
And we'll keep busy. Matter of fact, the call. I just got a call that was from my guitar player.
Sweet.
We're trying to show off the new record.
Awesome.
And we're pretty thankful for the fact that we can still do this 50 years later. I mean, I never imagined that.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I'll let you get back to the record, but thank you so much for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very fun.
Let me know when it's going to be broadcast.
You got it. I'll send you a link.